Hello, hello. I'm doing this video from home. So hello, welcome to my place. Yesterday we talked about creating the equation of a line given the point and the slope. Today we're creating the equation when we're given 2 points. This is a very, very important skill that I need you to have, and I want you to walk away remembering how to do this. So couple things. So remember, the equation of a line is written as y equals mx plus b. So we've had 2 different equations we've learned so far. So we have a linear equation representing a straight line. And remember, our other equation that we've learned was y equals ab to the x. So a couple of things. Linear, exponential. Remember, m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. Over here, a is our start value, b is our multiplier. Notice how both of them have a y equal sign and an x, a y equal sign and an x. Very important thing to remember. Anytime we have an equation, we need to have an x and a y representing something that we put in, and the y representing the thing that we get out. Every equation has a y equals and an x. All right, that was my spiel about that. So, in equations, we always have what 2 variables? We always have a x and a y, an in and an out. So that means we need to find what 2 variables to make our equation. Our equations always have y and x, simply as y and x. So what 2 things do we need to find? B and m, or m and b. What did m represent again? Our slope. Ooh, struggling to write. Our slope. And then b was our y-intercept. All right, so let's give this a whirl. So we have our lovely scatter plot here with our line of best fit. And I want us to create the equation of this line, and it goes through the points 24, 50, and 6, 200. What is the equation of the line of best fit? So a guiding thought I want to keep coming back to today is, so to make the equation of the line, what were the 2 things that we needed to find? Our slope, and what was the other thing? Our y-intercept. So again, we're finding m and b, slope, y-intercept. So first things first, let's go ahead and find the slope. So we're using that lovely slope equation where we do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So again, a couple ways to do this. I love labeling my points. They always go x first, then y, x first, then y. I'll put a 1 next to this one since this was my first point, and then a 2 next to this one since it was my second point. So one way we can do this is to just match them up. y2 comes first. Which one was y2 up here? 200. Oh, come on. Minus, what was y1? 50. Over x2, which was 6. Minus x1, which is 24. Okay, so we can set it up that way. Another way you can walk yourself through it, some people, I don't know, we think differently, right? So y's go on top, x's go on bottom. So I can go ahead and just start with this point. The y value goes on top. The x value goes on bottom. There's a subtraction sign. And then there's my other point. The y goes on top. The x goes on bottom. Okay, so whatever way works for you. Is it easier to just say y2 and then what's y1? Or do you like this idea of saying, okay, well, this is my first point, y on top, x on bottom, and then my next point, y on top, x on bottom. Okay, so now we can go ahead and do that. So 200 minus 50 is 150. 6 minus 24 is negative 18. And now we're going to go ahead and do that. So 150 divided by negative 18. And we get negative 8.3. So that is our slope. Okay, moving on. We have find the y-intercept. What 3 things did we need to find the y-intercept yesterday? Think about it. Yesterday, when we created the y-intercept, what 3 numbers did we plug into our equation? We plugged in our x, we plugged in a y, and we plugged in a slope. That's why we have to find slope first, because we have to use that slope value when we find our y-intercept. Remember, we plugged in y, m, and x in order to find b. So it's super important that we find slope first on these problems. So now we'll work through the steps. Write y equals mx plus b. Done. Plug in m and an x and a y from 1 point. So my m was negative 8.3. I'm going to find a y value and an x value. The key thing here is that it's from 1 point. So you're going to choose either this point or this point and then use its x and y. So I'll choose, I don't know, I like 24 and 50. That's a smaller number than 6 to 100. So 24 is my x. So times 24. And then my y is 50. All right, plugged our values in. Now we're going to go ahead and solve for b. So from yesterday we talked about the importance of multiplying first. We got to simplify both sides before we can solve for b. So we're going to do negative 8.3 times 24. And we get negative 199.2. Plus b. And then remember, the end game here is to get b by itself. The end game for this step is finding our b value, so we know our y-intercept. So I need to move that 199.2 to the other side. Right now it's negative, so I'm going to add it over to the other side. Those cancel, and we have b equals, oh, math, 249.2, I think. 50 plus 199.2, 249.2. Yes. Okay, so there's our y-intercept. And then now we create the equation. So when we create our equation, again, every equation has a y and an x. It's important to get this memorized that the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. So we have to plug in our m for our slope and then our b for our y-intercept. So our slope that we found was negative 8.3. And then our y-intercept that we found was 249.2. Voila, there's the equation of our line. Good to go. It's a really long problem, but it's all about repetition. Find the slope, plug in slope, x, y, find b, write your equation. I'm going to try to do this one a little bit quicker, so try to keep up. If you need to get this work down and it's not done yet, just go ahead and pause me so you can get that down. Let's look at this one now. So we have earnings at work. We have hours worked and then dollars earned. Let's see, the line of best fit goes through the points 548 and 1072. What is the equation for the line of best fit? So again, think of the 2 things that we need to find. We need to find our slope. And then what's the other one? Our y-intercept. Okay, first we find what? Our slope. Remember, we got to use our slope to find our y-intercept. So we won't be able to find our y-intercept unless we do this first. All right, I took away the equation because I want us to start getting this memorized. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, or we can just say xy, xy. Okay, I'll start with this point. Y on top, x on bottom, y on top, x on bottom. All right, well, I know 10 minus 5 is 5. 72 minus 48, that's a little harder. I'll just use a calculator really quick. We get 24. For this, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we have 24 divided by 5. we get 4.8. For these problems, I really want you to get your decimal. Okay, so there's 4.8, and that was our slope, or our m value. So now that we find slope, we can find, what was the other one? Our y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to write y equals mx plus b. Actually, let me do this in a different color. Make it a little bit neater. Check. We're going to plug in x and y and an m from our problem. So again, we're going to choose one of these points up here. I'll do 548. So 48 is our y. M we found was 4.8 times our x from that same point. So whatever point we chose y from, I have to choose that same x. Okay? Because that 548 is the point that falls on this line. If you flip-flop them, you're going to get the equation to some other line. All right, now we're going to solve for b. So again, we want to start by multiplying, getting rid of that multiplication first, simplify that right side, and we get 4.8 times 5, 24 plus b, and then we're going to move that 24 to the other side. All right, sorry. So we have a positive 24, so we move it by doing its opposite. It's negative because, again, the goal here is to get b. So now we're left with b equals 48 minus 24 is 24. All right, now we can create the equation of our line. So the equation of our line, remember, always equations start with y equals. For a line, it's mx plus b. So m, our slope, 4.8. Equations always have an x and a y, so we're going to leave the x. And then plus b, our y-intercept, 24. All right, so that one went a little quicker because we didn't take it as slowly. Okay, but there are 2 example problems for you to do. I want you to work through the rest of these. Okay, 5 is a little bit of a higher leverage. Feel free to attempt it. If you don't get to it, no worries. I for sure want you to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. You need to do those problems. The first one, I have the hints drawn out for you to just help you get started and help you get into the groove, especially since you're doing this with, not being in class. So first, find your slope. I have it kind of set up to help you. So plug in your numbers, get your top and bottom, divide it, get your slope. I have step 1 done for you here. So you're going to plug in your x, y, and m, solve for b, and then write your equation. Okay? Once you do that one, move on to the next one. I still have some of the hints there. And then once you get to A, I just have step 1, step 2, and then 4, very little on the hints. Okay? I want you to get through all of them. Give it your best shot, and let me know when you finish so I can check your work.